particularly in the UK, is to involve patients and service users and the general public, not just as research participants and the subjects of research, but also in the planning of research, in the commissioning of research, and in the design of research studies, as well as throughout in an advisory capacity. So I'm going to speak about how we've been developing a model to enhance patient involvement in designing and conducting research. And we've collected the views of patients, academics, and organisational staff about how well this is working. So the background then, for patients to fully contribute their expertise to designing and conducting research, the interactive processes with academics and experts needs to be effective. Factors that facilitate patients' ability to contribute expertise when involved in research include a supportive research culture, access to venues and information, a named contact person, mutual support from other patients, and patient-led decisions on involvement structures and processes. What we've found is, in order to get research funding in the UK, you really need to be able to show that you're involving patients in research, not just as subjects, but in the planning, design, and conduct of research. But it's very difficult to achieve this without it just being a tick in the box. And if we're going to do it really properly, we've found that we have to put a lot of effort and quite a lot of resources into this. And currently, there's not good evidence about what really works. So the subject of this is the subject of a PhD of a student I'm supervising, and it's about developing and implementing a model to enhance patient involvement in health and social care research. So that actually how we developed the model, patients and carers with experience of this was in the topic of managing chronic conditions, long-term conditions. We invited patients and carers to take part in facilitated workshops and meetings, and 16 patients and carers who had responded to by advertisement agreed core principles and ways of working to enable them to collaborate in research studies and activities. I'm sure you can imagine this is a daunting context, and people who suffer from long-term conditions don't necessarily have the language, the understanding, and even meeting skills to participate in if we run research studies in the usual ways. So we conducted interviews to explore how our involvement model was implemented and people's experiences of being involved in research. And our respondents came from 3 groups. We had 20 patients and carers, 4 academics, and 3 senior managers who were responsible for health policy and services. So this was a qualitative study. We carried out interviews which were recorded with consent, transcribed, and we analysed them using interpretive phenomenological analysis, which is not my key skill, so I'm probably not going to be able to answer any in-depth questions on that. So this method focuses on capturing personal experiences using a structured, reflexive process designed to reveal complexity and interpret understandings in data. So patients and carers named their model that they put together SUCCESS, which stands for Service Users with Chronic Conditions Encouraging Sensible Solutions. They agreed that the core principles, that it should be a patient or service user-led process, should be inclusive, accessible, and equally value contributions from all. They established a pool structure so that all SUCCESS members could be informed of and volunteer for research involvement opportunities. And researchers then were invited to contact the SUCCESS pool to recruit patients and carers to various research activities and projects. So this is showing how the model works. So SUCCESS members have been involved in at least 70 research activities and projects over 7 years, including research management group membership, independent trial steering committee membership, the development of research proposals, the preparation of data collection tools, undertaking analysis, writing abstracts, and presenting at conferences. But I think you can probably imagine that this can't happen just on its own. This requires a lot of support and facilitation. In terms of the results from the interviews, there were some positive views of the model, that the SUCCESS model increased the number and proficiency of patients and carers involved in research. That patients and carers felt the model provided a trustworthy channel to communicate their healthcare experiences. Academics and organisational managers perceived the success pool was a credible and legitimate group to provide insight into patient and carer experience. On the other hand, it wasn't all good news. The patients felt that the language and culture of research environments was off-putting. Patients did not always know what they should or could contribute. They didn't feel very confident about that. On the other hand, academics and managers said they did not always gain the information they sought and questioned whether success members spoke as individuals or as patient representatives. There was always that dilemma. And the process of recruiting people from success and sharing the research experience with success was confusing. So here's a few quotes. It's enabled us to include service users when we wouldn't have been able to otherwise without that pool being there. So that's from an academic. A success member said it's a strength to know there's a group there. As an individual, you could become lost, but as a group, you have an identity. A health services manager said the word to use is credibility. There was credibility of the people involved. It was having a group that was ready-made. Another success member said it's nice to be involved, but it's above our heads, particularly in the meetings in the university. It's your world, it's not our world. And an academic said, meetings I don't think are necessarily the right forum. Often those meetings aren't necessarily where the added value comes from. So patients couldn't just slot in to our existing processes and structures simply. So our conclusions from those interviews with those participants were that involving patients and carers in the process of developing and implementing the success model created a model which appeared to strengthen credibility, confidence, and perceived relevance for all participants. Success fostered members' skills and confidence to speak up for each other and patients more widely as they sustained their involvement. Patients and carers could not always turn experience into the expertise which academic and managerial collaborators sought. And finally, further research training for patients, improved communication, and better ways to match patient skills to research opportunities are needed to strengthen the model. And I might add into there, actually, research training for researchers as well. Thank you very much, and I'd be happy to take any questions.